All right, we are live. I'm back. New topic. What am I talking about today? So, I've probably mentioned this, well, not recently, so it's time to mention it. I'm going to adjust the table here for a second. It's a little high. There we go. I've mentioned this before. Although I'm really interested in climate science and the state of the art with regards to what's happening to our planet and therefore what's happening to us as a result. And I follow the data and I follow the science. I'm aware of the direction things are headed. It's become increasingly obvious to me where things are headed. So I've been slowly over the recent years becoming more interested in how people are reacting to this, the human dynamic, right? And I want to talk a little bit about that today. I think that what I'm doing with this topic, global heating, is actually going to become more and more common. The science is actually being downplayed at this point. Nations, in particular the U.S., but eventually all the nations that have research budgets around climate science, these budgets, these projects are being shut down. Some of them are being shut down because there's no more research to do. But because systems have simply changed so much that there's nothing left to study. Ice melt, for example, when the ice is gone, what are you supposed to study after the ice is gone? So I believe that climate science is actually going away, mostly, maybe even entirely going away. And then all we'll have left to talk about are what should we do? What now? We've got the science. They canceled the science, but it doesn't really matter. We all get it. There's been enough science. We get it now. What are we supposed to do? And so this is where I am more interested now in human behavior. Now, I'm not that kind of a scientist. I'm not a social scientist or a psychologist or psychotherapist. I don't have that much interest in humans. I'm kind of a introvert and a loner, and I like it that way. But I'm surrounded by humans, and they're going to start reacting to global heating, and it's going to be a bad reaction. And so I'm going to be surrounded by people that are panicking and doing terrible things to each other. And so now I have to start paying attention. So today's topic is along those lines. Now I want to introduce to you a gentleman named Seneca. Seneca was alive at about the time that people say Christ was alive, so about 0 AD to like 60 AD. I think he lived to be about 65 years old or something before the Romans made him kill himself. And he said something that I'm actually going to have to quote because it's kind of cute. He said, of course he said it in Latin, but the translation is, "Increases are of sluggish growth, but the way to ruin is rapid." I'll repeat that. Increases are of sluggish growth, but the way to ruin is rapid. So the interpretation is it takes a long time to develop anything, personal wealth, economic systems, to grow a political movement, anything that increases. It increases slowly and sluggishly, and then when it collapses all at once, rapidly. Who was it? It was Ugo Bardi, who was a member of the Club of Rome, and the Club of Rome are the same people who did the limits to growth model back in the 70s. So he's been in this space for a long time. And Ugo Bardi summarized Seneca's statement that growth is slow but collapse is rapid as the Seneca Cliff. And he applied. I haven't read his work. I should, but the gist of it is simple enough. That systems grow slowly, and the slowness of the growth convinces people that growth is inevitable. Every year things get better. Every year, there's more people. Every year, there's more money. Every year, there's innovation. There's always something new. And we become, and because it's slow, meaning the growth phase spans generations, if not centuries, in many cases, we just sort of take it as a given after a while. And so when the collapse comes, people are taken by surprise. This applies to global civilization. We've had many civilizations, and they've all experienced this. And this also applies to our current global civilization. The problem is that now, whereas the Roman civilization was a certain number of people and a certain size of an empire, and the Minoans and the Phoenicians and the Egyptians and the Mesopotamians and all the others, the Aztecs, the Mayans, the southwestern civilizations in North America. These were all localized civilizations with a finite number of people. So when they collapsed, it didn't risk the destruction of humanity. For example, the destruction of the Roman Empire, which drove Europe into the Dark Ages, didn't affect the Asian civilizations at all. I mean, they had their own dramas, their own problems to work through, but they didn't know that Europe was having a dark age. And when the plagues came to Europe and killed a third to half of the population and destroyed, a great deal of what was going on at the time during the Middle Ages, again, other parts of the world, the New World, Africa, Asia, Australasia, just didn't know. They weren't having that. So, but now we have a global civilization, and we have a global civilization that is made possible entirely by fossil fuel consumption. We have been able to create a global civilization where that was not a thing before. That did not happen until now. And the reason why that happened now and not back then, only now do we have a global civilization, is because of fossil fuel consumption. But along with fossil fuel consumption came global heating. So that's going to be a problem. And it's a problem already. We're just not talking about it. But the fossil fuels were part of the slow growth that got us to where we are now. And the collapse is going to be a different experience. And it will collapse because it must. It's just baked into the cake now. We're definitely in a death watch at this point. The end of global industrialized civilization is assured, and we're just kind of watching and waiting to see who gets to go first, how bad it's going to be, and how many people and how much technology is left at the end of it. So again, to repeat, Seneca came up with this idea that increases are of sluggish growth, but the way to ruin is rapid, and Hugo Bardi called that the Seneca Cliff. And you'll be hearing a lot about this in the future, so you might as well hear about it now, because it's a thing. And we know that this is how it happens. And now we have a global civilization, and we're going to get to do this. All of us, all 8,000 million of us, get to go and do this. Now, again, my main before I continue, do me a favor. So this kind of content doesn't do real well with the algorithm, and I would like to grow the channel a bit, and I can't do that without you. So you can help me out. If you're not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe. The YouTube recognizes that. And whenever time you watch these videos, always remember to leave a like. And I'm also curious about something. I don't really know my user base very well. Go to the comment section and just leave a note what city you're in, what country that is, if it's not in the US, someplace where I might recognize it. And so I had to get an idea of who's watching these videos, and maybe I'll start paying more attention to those regions as things happen in those regions, and I can talk about them on the video. If I have a listenership in different parts of the world, then I will definitely speak to that because I think that's important. So yeah, you do me a favor. Also, I have a link in the description to buy me a coffee, and that's just a service where you can basically donate some money to buy me a coffee. And I'm always on here drinking coffee, so you'll be doing me a favor then. So back to the topic. I want to say something about why increases in growth are sluggish, and why ruin is rapid, because this is actually critical to the phase we're in right now. And you need to understand this. You need to understand where I'm at and why I'm here. I need to explain this to you. Okay, that's what I want to say. I have a responsibility to explain to you why I'm in the place I'm in, spiritually, morally, philosophically, intellectually, why I'm here, why I'm on YouTube, and why I'm afraid for the future. I need to explain that to you, so I will do it now. The reason why, and then I'll circle back how this applies. So the reason why increase is sluggish is because increase, which I want to substitute a word here, innovation or invention or discovery, okay, all those kind of work. Increase happens one person at a time. And we even know who those people are because we celebrate them for their contributions to civilization. And those contributions, it's not necessarily a bunch of industrialists, although Henry Ford did some important things. And we understand the industrialists did things, and we are here with cars and planes and everything else because of those men, because that's really what it was, right? It was usually one person who opened the door to another way of doing things. No, then everybody does it, right? But it starts with one person. But it's not just the industrial era, okay? This goes back a long way. Even if Henry Ford never read any Plato, Plato and Pythagoras and Seneca and the others were laying the foundation for Western civilization, and really laying the foundation for our attitudes about progress. But we have an attitude about progress, that progress is unstoppable, that it's continuous, that it's unbroken, that there's a long chain of unbroken discoveries and innovations and explorations that got us here, and that we will continue to do that forever, for all time. This idea of progress is now pretty much burned into the human psyche. That hasn't always been the case. There are lots of cultures, even to this day, that either don't think progress is that big of a deal, or that haven't seen any of it. They just live their lives, their daily lives, their cyclical lives, right? The 4 seasons and the harvest and laying up food and the birth of the calves and the lambs. They'll live their lives in a circle, and the idea of progress doesn't really interest them. Maybe it doesn't apply. Maybe they haven't seen very much of that. So it's not that all humans are wedded to this idea that progress is sacred and eternal, but a great many are. Yeah, you could easily make a point that Western civilization is based on the idea of continuous progress. Well, that progress is slow. And even if we've had periods of immense, rapid progress, it's still, generational. So, and like I said, it proceeds one person at a time. We know who these people are. We celebrate these people. We have their names. We know who they are. And we can see how they moved the needle. Every one of them. Every single one of them. The Alexander Bells, the Thomas Edisons, the Nikola Teslas, right? Pythagoras in mathematics. Whoever it was that invented the number 0. I don't know. Maybe we know who that person is. I don't know. I don't know that person. I should look that up. Somebody invented 0 and gave us what we still call, even though they don't teach this anymore, we still call the Arabic numerals. And algebra as a mathematical framework, that's an Arabic word. Algebra. So we have, and someone in China invented gunpowder, and someone in China invented paper. But it was one person that did that, and the line of progress is built one person at a time, one person discovering something. And it was even Isaac Newton, Sir Isaac Newton, who said that if I have seen further in my work, it's because I stand on the shoulders of giants. And in this case, he meant people like Galileo, because Galileo was his immediate predecessor. Galileo was studying the planets, and he invented the telescope and did a bunch of other things. And then Newton came along, and with the work of Galileo, a person, right there in his hands, he could continue that work and come up with his models for the behavior of the planets around the sun, and his model for gravity, Newton's laws of gravity, which we use every single day, and were 100% accurate for predicting the motions of the planets until Einstein came along and actually just improved them. So, and again, that's one person. So I just mentioned three people: Galileo, Newton, and Einstein, who stood on each other's work and moved the needle forward, moved our progress forward, until today, when we have cell phones and Wikipedia and social media and all kinds of psychosis based on all that and everything else. So here we are, right? Here we are looking at the end of civilization and what's going to happen to us. But the end of civilization is different. You can grow civilization one discovery at a time by one person or one small group, the Wright brothers, okay? Basically inventing heavier than air flight. You can build progress one person or one group of people at a time. But when the collapse comes, it happens all at once. And these people cannot save you. That's the key. They can't save you. Changing screens. I've had this image up before. I like this image. This is a picture of the polycrisis. The polycrisis, I did a video on this. I think it's linked in the description. So that's the polycrisis. The reason that civilizations collapse so rapidly, and the reason why these important people, and they are individuals or very small groups, can't save you, is because it's a polycrisis. At the end, everything falls apart. And here we have the Titanic. It's sinking because of the iceberg, but it's also on fire. And it's also being attacked by a sea monster. And it's being attacked by aliens from space. And so, because the collapse is manifold, and it comes from all directions, the way up, one invention at a time, is not the same as the way down. The way down is rapid. Seneca was right. We are currently 8,000 million people. So I'm going to say a couple of things here. I'm going to string together, unfortunately it's numbers, but you're just going to have to read between the lines a little bit here, okay? Do me a favor. We are 8,000 million people. That's equivalent of 8 billion. But I say it the way I am for a reason. You'll find out in a moment. We are 8,000 million people. Those are big numbers. 8,000 million. Up until recently, meaning the last 1,000 years or so, this planet could never really support more than about 200, maybe 250 million people. Now, that's a lot of people. But there are countries all over this planet that in a single country contain more than 250 million people, including the United States of America. So there was a time when the United States of America was more than, today is more than the entire population of the entire Earth. And the reason why you couldn't support more than about 250 million people is because you didn't have enough energy. What turned this around and caused the human population to explode exponentially, which is exactly what it did, was the discovery of fossil fuels. We went from just to use round figures, 800 million people to 8,000 million people, a 10x increase in 100 years or so. 10x increase in about 100 years. That is unlikely to continue, even with fossil fuels. But actually, not to put too fine a point on it, we must now stop burning fossil fuels, because fossil fuels have created something that is called the greenhouse. Well, didn't create it. It's enhancing the greenhouse effect, because as we burn fossil fuels, we release CO2 in the atmosphere, and also in the process of acquiring most fossil fuels, coal, oil, and natural gas, all three of them, we release either deliberately or on accident methane into the atmosphere. And methane and carbon dioxide are both potent greenhouse gases. And once they're released in the atmosphere, they stay there for a long time. And while they're there, they contribute to the heating of the earth, in particular the atmosphere, because that's where they reside. But from the heating of the atmosphere, you also get the heating of the oceans, the melting of the ice, and a bunch of other things. So we did this innovation thing, and we discovered fossil fuels, and that brought us even further into the future. We had more growth, more innovation, and there's really been a cascade of innovation in the last, I would say, 100 years or so, right? We both, all of us have that feeling. Maybe 150, right? Something like that. And now we're 8,000 million, way beyond the carrying capacity of the Earth, as that was reflected in historic times. And people will say, well, it's because we've increased infant mortality. Yeah, maybe that contributed to some of it. Well, it's because we have new types of crops that produce more food. Yeah, that's probably some of it. But even when we were fairly modern, and we had some forms of medicine and a lot of modern agriculture, as things go, we had the mortar-board plow, we had domesticated animals pulling the plow. We were still not much more than 500 million people. And the big innovation, the big kahuna here, the big change, was the discovery and the utilization of fossil fuels in a big way. Now, apparently, and I read this somewhere, like the Romans knew about coal. Coal is one of those things that, because it's a solid form, it's a stone, you can just pick it up off the ground. It's mineralized carbon. So you can just pick it up off the ground. And after you learn that it burns, then you're thinking, oh, why am I cutting down trees? That requires an axe. I can just pick this stuff off the ground, throw it in the hearth back home and cook my food or melt my iron or do the other things I have to do with heat. Heat the baths, which is what the Romans mostly did. So we knew that coal existed, but we didn't really know all the things we could do with it. And then we just, and then things took off. When the era of steam came around, then we had big machines for digging coal. We could dig tunnels underground. We had drilling machines driven by steam and all these things. And we could go completely crazy about coal. And coal then helped us discover crude oil. And crude oil then helped us discover ways to better get at and utilize what we call natural gas or methane. So all these things built on each other. And they built rapidly. And in my lifetime, we just ended the Second World War, essentially, and started the Cold War. I was born in 1959, and then a decade later, 2 decades later, we were on the moon. A decade later, we were on the moon, and we had jet aircraft, and jet aircraft were flying back and forth between the continents. In my childhood, these things came about. These things happened. So we know that the increase has been fairly rapid, but the totality of increase of the human species has been slow, because we can really only do this one discovery at a time, one innovation at a time, one lucky discovery at a time, one lab result at a time, one paper at a time, one lecture at a time. This is how we have gotten to this point. But the same people that got us here, the Newtons, the Einsteins, the Rutherfords, the Fords, right? The Orville, the Wright brothers, the same people who got us here in this gradual ascent of progress, which we now all think is sacred and eternal. They can't do anything for you at the top when you're teetering at the edge of the Seneca Cliff. They can't do anything for you because you don't need one more innovation. You have so many problems to solve that you need hundreds of innovations, if not thousands, to all happen at the same time. And innovation doesn't work that way. Inventors, explorers, makers stand on the shoulders of their predecessors. And even with the internet, greasing the wheels of communication between all these different persons, individual people, not everybody's paying attention on an individual level. Not everybody's engaged. And increasingly, a lot of science isn't even given any positive reinforcement at all. Now it's a hoax. Now you're a traitor. Now you're a fearmonger. I'm a fearmonger. Whatever. I'm just talking about reality on here, right? But all of a sudden, I'm a problem. The Trump administration is going to bash my door in and drag me off to, some maximum security prison because I'm a treasonous fearmonger. Who knows what's going to happen? So these people are in no position to save you. And yet the tech bros and the optimists, they'll tell you, oh, well, global heating, we'll solve that through innovation. No, you're not. You're not going to do that. You're going to collapse. These people are not going to save you. They got you where you are. And now you have this sense that this is inevitable. That we just need a little bit of more progress, one innovation. We just need the next Isaac Newton. We just need the next Henry Ford. We just need one more little thing. But right now, you have a poly crisis. You hit an iceberg. You're on fire. You're being attacked by a sea monster. You're being attacked by aliens from space. You have so many problems right now that you need thousands of Henry Fords all working together. Oh, well, we'll just use the internet. No, you won't, because you don't know where these people are. And a lot of them are scientists, and a lot of scientists are pulling back from this. They're getting signals from their authoritarian leaders that this is not welcome. We don't want you looking at these problems. We don't want you talking about these problems. We want you to just shut up, teach your students, teach them simple things, and don't get people afraid, and don't raise the alarm, and don't be an alarmist, and don't talk about problems, and don't talk about solving problems. We're the adults. We're the politicians, the economists. We're the spiritual leaders. We're the adults, and we'll tell the people what they need to hear. We'll give them a story. We'll tell them about innovation will solve everything. We'll tell them that the march of progress and all the things we know to be sacred and eternal that's going to save the day. But the people who actually cause the march of progress to even progress are disengaged. Well, we'll just re-engage them with money. Not when they're getting death threats, you won't. Well, we'll just turn to corporate America and we'll give them money. No, because they'll take the money and put it in their pocket. Well, it'll be generational change. Someone will come along. No, they won't. Have you seen what's happening to education? It's in a dumpster on fire. Education is in decline. The United States of America has always been anti-intellectual. Always been that way. Since forever. Anti-intellectual and anti-science. A lot of the good science that was actually done was done by the English, the French, the Italians, the Germans, the Russians. They did a lot of science. And America, having all the money, bought it. Brought these. Einstein was a German. Okay? And so we brought these people in, we paid them, we exploited their capabilities, and we innovated, whatever that meant. But these people were not organically grown because America has a hate relationship with intellectual attainment. We do not love our intellectuals. We mistreat them, we bully them, we just bully them. Because they're what? They're introverted, they're withdrawn, they're thinking their thoughts, and then we bully them. And it's a wonder that anybody survives intellectually in the United States of America. If you're not G.I. Joe and Hulk Hogan and rich like Donald Trump grabbing women by the pussies, well then you're nobody. You're nobody. And they're going to bully you in school. And so where do you go from there? Antidepressants, I suppose. a lot of the intellectuals filling our universities are foreigners, Chinese, where their parents still tell their kids, you will go to school, you will get good grades, you will compete on the entrance exams, you will excel. And they beat them if they don't. Or places like India, where the only way out of poverty is through university. That's it. That's it. You got two roads: poverty over here and university greatness over there, and you better get a job. And the job will be in the U.S. And don't pay attention to those people. They're going to hate you for being a foreigner, but nevertheless, you go over there and you make money and you send some of it back home, and that makes perfect sense to me. And Donald Trump, getting a little off topic here, but this is still important because this is why we're not going to save ourselves. So this is on topic. Donald Trump, with his ICE, his internal goon squad, was rounding up Asians and sending them packing. He destroyed, Donald Trump and ICE destroyed that gigafactory in Georgia, I guess it was. They destroyed it, that Samsung was building. They're trying to build a factory to create, I guess it was batteries. And ICE went in there and arrested all the engineers and detained them in handcuffs. And as soon as some diplomat woke up and said, "The fuck is this?" and got them all released, they went back to Korea. Those were Korean engineers building a battery factory in Georgia. Because our people can't do that. And when Donald Trump started rounding up Asians and sending them back to their country, the universities began to empty. Students stopped coming. They just didn't come to this country to participate in our education system. And now the university is like, excuse me, I got a question. How are we supposed to stay in business, because it is a business, we have no students? And then Donald Trump was back on Truth Social saying how great it is. We have to welcome our foreign students, and they're the best thing we've ever had, and so much innovation and so much sharing of knowledge and advancement and progress. And he changed his tune completely. Of course, he's still rounding up and deporting Koreans and Japanese and Chinese because he has to throw red meat to his MAGA base. But this is why we can't save ourselves. You think there's going to be innovation. You think we're going to find a solution to global heating. You think someone's going to do that. They're not going to do that. Because the handwriting is on the wall. You're not welcome to solve this problem. You're not welcome to discuss this problem. And that's why, even though we have had a long history of progress, you're not going to get any more. And all you're going to get is a collapse of innovation, people not feeling welcomed, not feeling like they're going to be appreciated or compensated, that at any day they could be arrested and sent off to a prison in El Salvador just by saying, hey, we have a problem here, let's solve it. Wait, did you say there's a problem? Yeah, there's a problem here with global heating. We have to solve this problem. Okay, arrest this person, throw a sack over their head, drag them out to an unmarked black van and drive them away somewhere and disappear them because they said we have a problem. You're not going to solve your problem with global heating. You're not going to do that. You think you're doing that. You're not doing that. And global heating is a polycrisis. It's going to be heat. Okay, well, there you go. Heat kills things. Heat kills people. Heat kills plants. Heat kills animals. And heat kills crops. Heat. I'm not talking about the drought. I'm talking about the heat. The heat by itself will do that. Okay? And then you're going to have droughts because it's so hot you can't have reservoirs. They all evaporate. And then you're going to have torrential rains because the heat evaporates the water from the ocean and the reservoirs and dumps it somewhere else in torrential rains. Okay? And then you're going to have crop failures everywhere. Because of the heat, because of the droughts, because of the floods, because of all the other things. And then you're going to have refugee crisis because there's no food, there's no water, there's too much water. It's too hot. And so people hit the road and they're crossing borders and they're crossing into other countries. And then you have the rise of totalitarianism. And the totalitarians are saying, we must close our borders because whatever, filthy people coming into our country and dirtying our blood and soil. And then you have the rise of these despots, and they're not happy just to keep the immigrants from coming in. Now they have to fight the enemy within, and we have to fight these pseudo-intellectuals, and everything is a hoax, and there's no problems at all. And anybody who says there's a hoax, they're going to go to prison, or they're going to go up against the wall at dawn, or whatever they're going to do, because they're tyrants. All they care about is power. A lot of these tyrants. I mean, just look at Donald Trump. Oh, and Vladimir Putin, too. People will tell you Vladimir Putin is dumb. He's dumb as a stump. I mean, he's clever. He knows how to twist people's arm. He probably knows 4 different ways, 4 different grips to actually break your arm and torture you. Just breaking bones, okay? He probably knows 4 different ways to break your bones and torture you into a false confession before he throws you out a window. But that doesn't mean he's smart. He's just clever. That's it. That's all he's got going for him. And Donald Trump is clever. He's got a magnetic personality. I think the guy is a troll. Whatever. Half the things come out of his mouth just don't make any sense at all. But people love him. Hey, people also loved Bad Mustache Man. You go back and look at the newsreels, the black and white newsreels of all the pump people coming to the rallies. And he was up there, and they're all going Sieg Heil, and waving the flag, and they're smiling, and their eyes are big and bright, and they're all loving this. And, the guy was crazy. He was just batshit crazy. And so were all of his minions. And we're going right down that same path today. And do you think with that going on, Albert Einstein left Germany. He said, fuck this shit, I'm out. He left. Oh, and then, of course, he went to America, and he got himself established there, and he started thinking about nuclear weapons. So that didn't work out for the Germans at all. And that, they didn't have him. And the Italians didn't have their Italian physicists. And the French physicists and mathematicians, they fled France when the Germans took over France in the Second World War. And so you don't have them. They're gone. They're not working for you. Because they know what's going to happen. They're going to be tortured. They're going to be forced to do it. If they don't want to do it for you because you're an evil son of a bitch, they'll be forced to do it. You'll be holding their family at gunpoint while they try to make a bomb for you without actually making a bomb for you. Who's going to sign up for that? What Italian scientist, what German mathematician, what French physicist is going to put up with this? They're not. They're going to leave. These people will not work for you. They're not going to work for you, Trump. They're not going to work for you, Putin. They're going to leave. And even if they can't find some place where they can do their work to try and help humanity turn the next corner and get, wrap their hands around global heating, for God's sake, well, even if they can't, if they find that place, how much time do they have? How much resource do they have? And are they going to be able to work with each other? Are they going to be able to pull it together? Are we going to have 1,000 Henry Fords? Are we going to have 1,000 Oppenheimers? Are we going to have 1,000 Einsteins? Will they be able to work together? Or will they be stuck in these really weird places where if they say the wrong thing, they get a black sack pulled over their head, they get thrown into a black van, unmarked van with tinted windows, and they disappear? Who wants to do this? They're not going to do this. They're not. They got you where you are. They got humanity to 8,000 million people. And these people, and they are people, individuals, got us the fossil fuels, the coal, oil, the natural gas, the plastics, the pharmaceuticals that are derivative of fossil fuels, just so you know, the distribution systems, the huge global supply chains, right? Global manufacturing, global communications. All this happened one person at a time. I know you don't believe that, but it's true. And these people are disengaged. They're fearful. They're mistreated. They're told that they're traitors. They're told that their work is not a benefit to humanity and that their work is a hoax. And that the problems they identify is just them fear-mongering. I hear it all the time. I was on a live stream recently just reading the fucking headlines. I was reading the goddamn fucking headlines. And the other people in the stream said I was lying and that it was a hoax and I was a fearmonger. Reading The fucking headlines in the paper, online. This is how it is, folks. Nah, you're lying. You've got an agenda. Do you think I want to hear that? Do you think that's the kind of bullshit I'm going to put up with? No, I'm not. I'm not going to put up with that. I'm just not. And I'm not alone. I'm not alone. And how do I feel? How am I supposed to feel about that? So I'm supposed to be there. Me. And my 3.5 pounds of brain. And my 66 years of solving problems. Yeah, I started when I was an infant. My 60 years of solving a problem. And I'm supposed to now bail out 8,000 million humans? Really? Meanwhile, almost every single day I have to keep looking out the window to see if the black van is pulling up in front of my house? That's how I'm going to live my life? No. No, I'm not doing that. You think I'm a liar? You think I've got an agenda? You think I'm a hoax? You think I'm making all this up when it's in the headlines? You think I'm making this up? Well, I'm not, number one. I'm not making any of it up. This is just your reality. You bunch of hairless chimps. This is your reality. You don't want this to be your reality? Well, fuck you. Die. Go ahead. You got here on the shoulders of people like me, one at a time. For thousands of years, we've been doing this. And we're done. I've seen the handwriting on the wall. I know what's going down. People don't want to hear it. Okay. And that's the source of the title of this video, One for All. It was like that. Every person who had an idea did it for the pure pleasure of doing it. And then that idea spread and blossomed into a garden of ideas and products and solutions. But in the end, this massive humanity, this 8,000 million people that is utterly unsustainable at this point. Certainly not without fossil fuels. And we have to stop burning the fossil fuels. So now what? This 8,000 million humans, completely unsustainable, is going to come crashing down. All for nothing. All for nothing. It was all for nothing. How do you think I feel about that? I feel wretched. I feel horrible. I feel horrible. Thousands of years of progress. Well, let's just call it that. Some people don't like it, but let's just call it progress. Let's just do that, shall we? Just for argument's sake. Thousands of years of progress. You can even go back to the invention of domesticating animals and pulling a plow through the soil and domesticating crops. All that can be part of our 1,000-year run since the end of the last glacial maximum. That could be it. You go back to Mesopotamia, 5,000 years BC, and now it's all for nothing because we've destroyed. Like it or not, we're about to destroy the earth for human purposes. Because the conditions under which, we evolved as an organism, but also the conditions under which this civilization, all this, 8,000 years of whatever it is we've been doing, all took place on a particular type of planet with a particular type of climatic regime, with a particular type of growing zones in particular places, with particular types of plants and animals and crops and everything else. All that stuff all has been ironed out and maximized, and now we're grooving. We're in the groove. We're in the zone. We're in that zone. We're just grooving, We're vibing our way into the infinite future. All that's about to change because of global heating. The rain won't fall where it's supposed to. There are dry land crops. The entire U.S. Midwest is dry land crops because they feel like they know when the rains are going to come. So they plant the fields 2 weeks before the rains are supposed to come. Then the rains come, and the rains go when they're supposed to go, and then they stop, and then they harvest. That whole regime of expectation, and it's always worked this way, that's going out the window. That shit's gone. That's gone. That's gone out the window. The U.S. Midwest, at this point, I don't know if they're even going to have a harvest. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, least of all the tariffs. And how do we get the tariffs? We got the tariffs because of Donald Trump. And how do we get Donald Trump? Because of immigrants and because of fear and because of people want a happy story. And if they can't have a happy story, they want someone to blame. And so now we have Donald Trump and we have Vladimir Putin. We have the rise of fascism in Europe. It's just going to be authoritarian figures and oligarchs all the way down. Oh, now we have the tech bros, and they're going to bring AI and kick everyone out of their job. And how is this supposed to work? It's not going to work. And meanwhile, the planet is getting hotter every single year. Every year. Practically every year is hotter than the year before. That's a line, folks. That's a line that's going up. Every year is hotter than the year before. And maybe it's not exactly hotter, but it'll be hotter a few years down the road. Now that's the trend, a couple little hiccups, but the trend is up. We got the numbers, got the receipts. You don't want to see the numbers? You think it's a hoax? Well, fine. You think I'm a liar and I'm a fearmonger and I'm just inventing this and I have an agenda? Well, fine. I don't have to talk to you. I don't have to talk to any of you fuckers. And I'm not the only one. I am not the only one. No. And you think this bunch of eggheads is going to come around somehow and find the money and find the grants and find the political environment that supports our work and not be told that we're treasonous and not be told we're a fearmonger and not get continuous death threats and not be killed in our office at the university, because all those things are happening. And you think that we're now going to sacrifice our lives to save 8,000 million humans? Well, somebody might. Yeah, somebody might. Until they get killed. Until they get thrown in prison for saying the wrong thing. Yeah, somebody might. Until their career is ruined. Because they said, yeah, global heating is real. Okay, well then you can't work at this university. You can't work in this government department. You can't get grants. You can't do research. Yeah, until they make a mistake. Then maybe they will. And as people get broken off and destroyed and their careers destroyed and their work denigrated and their entire career path dragged through the mud, and all they're trying to do is help people and trying to keep innovating and keep progress, and yet they're being destroyed just for doing that. As more people see that happening, they're going to say, oh yeah, fuck it then. No, I don't have to save you. Who says I have to save you? I mean, I'd like to. Seems like the right thing to do, but if you're going to treat me like this, fuck off. I'm comfortable. I don't have to do this research. I'll do something else. These are smart people. These are the Einsteins and the Oppenheimers and the Henry Fords, and they don't have to throw themselves out there. They don't have to be vulnerable. They don't have to be vulnerable. And told that they're liars and they have an agenda and it's all a hoax, and shut down the universities and send home the foreign students and arrest everybody and put a black sack over their head and run them off to El Salvador to a maximum security prison just because they wanted to help. Oh, they're not going to do that. The fuck they won't. Hitler did it. Mussolini did it. How is this any different? Increases are of sluggish growth, but the way to ruin is rapid. You people are fucked. People like me got you here, and we had a good time. Had a good time doing it. I had a good time in my career. Everything I did, what I wanted to do, and I enjoyed it. And I enjoyed the people I was working with, and I enjoyed our successes. And, okay, it wasn't all great. Some of it was borderline illegal, but whatever. We stayed above the line, and we did our work, and we took our money, and we went on to other projects. So, net of net, it was all good. Yeah, I've kind of seen the dark underbelly of technology. A little bit. I was there. I was in the room. We did it. We enjoyed it. Will we do it again? You're hoping so. Yeah, you people are hoping so. You're hoping we're going to do it again. Oh, will we? I'm not doing it for Donald Trump. I'm not. And Einstein didn't do it for Hitler. There you go. And one of the reasons that the U.S. became a superpower with nuclear weapons and computers and atomic energy and all these things was because of all these people that came to America to escape fascism in Europe. There you go. And so now we have fascism in America. What do you think that's going to do? What do you think that's going to do? Well, I can tell you. People are going to go home. The Chinese students are going home. The South Koreans, they went home. They're not building your fucking battery factory in fucking Georgia. They are not doing that. No. Sorry. Take these handcuffs off. Thank you. Do I have a plane ticket? I do. Okay. Bye. Bye, Felicia. Yeah, they're done. That's what you get. And that's what you're going to get. We were a long time. We were thousands of years getting to where we are. One discovery at a time. One innovation at a time. One paper at a time. We got where we are. And it's all going to come crashing down. And there's nobody going to save you. Nobody's going to save civilization. We are backing away. I see what's happening here. Very interesting. Excuse me. Exit stage right. If someone comes along and tells you, oh, well, this is simple. Global heating, we can fix that. We'll just innovate. You think about what I'm telling you right now. You just remember this conversation. Yeah, you're going to innovate. Who exactly is going to do that for you at the risk of being destroyed for even talking about the problem? Who exactly is going to do that? All the time that they're being called a liar and a fraud and, greedy and creating a hoax and creating fear and trying to capitalize on fear and all these things. Okay, fine. I don't have to do this. Now, here I am on YouTube. I can be on YouTube. I'll stop when I feel like there are enough people like me being disappeared. Then I'll stop doing this. I'll say, yeah, well, I felt like I should say something. And then one day, I felt like I didn't have to. It was just too dangerous. I'm not doing it. That's how it goes. That's how your system collapses. All at once. And maybe the people who could have prevented that will be watching and in horror, knowing that maybe if enough of them had gotten together, they could have prevented that or at least done something to help. And they're just going to be sitting back and they'll be watching it and they're going to say, didn't have to be this way. It did not have to be this way. Except that it did have to be this way. Now, this is what I get from watching people. Yes, I'm a climate scientist. Yes, I know the data. 1.5 degrees C and 2 degrees C, and hothouse Earth, and the ice is melting, and the AMOC is shutting down, and yeah, I get all that. The collapse of the jet stream due to a sudden atmospheric warming of the polar vortex, and the breakdown of the jet stream is causing massive weather calamities, and yeah, I get all that. Iran is running out of water, so are many other nations, and other nations are simply being flooded out of existence at the same time. Yeah, I get that. We can talk about that all day. Well, that's not the problem. I mean, that is a problem for somebody. Those things are happening. And it's all physics. There's nothing you can do about it. I mean, we could be aware. We could talk about it. We can say, well, this is what's happening in the world. So maybe get ready. Maybe prepare a little bit. Talk about it. How about we just talk about it? Let's start there. We just talk about this, have an adult, what I call the adult conversation. Let's have an adult conversation. Let's talk about this like it's real, because it is. And maybe we'll explain why it's real, because we can, and we'll look at the data and we'll decide who's going to get hit first, and then we'll try and save as many people as we can, because that seems like the right thing to do. We can have that conversation, but we're not, nor will we. And my casual, non-professional examination of human behavior around this topic convinces me we can't. We can't do it. We can't have this conversation. All we can do is demonize the people who are kind of waiting in the wings, thinking, excuse me, maybe we could try and solve this, or at least save as many people as possible. Maybe preserve as much progress as possible that we've already made and not lose all of it. We can have a conversation about that. Oh, we're not going to talk about that? Okay, fine. I'll be sitting right over there if you change your mind. But we won't. Because we can't. People can't save themselves. Even the innovators can't save themselves. It's a particular mindset that allows you to look at problems, study them, look at solutions, experiment, publish your results. That's a particular mindset that doesn't say watch Netflix until 2 o'clock in the morning, right? That's a particular mindset that, let's face it, is rare. There's not many people like that who can focus on a problem, really study it, really examine it, experiment with it, spend their own money, spend their own time. There are not many people like that. And the world should be positioning those people to have the adult conversation. But the world isn't doing that. And it's not going to. Because it can't. And why can't it? Because of the leadership, the rise of authoritarianism, because of the intolerance, because of the fear-mongering, like by Trump. He's the one who's telling you that immigrants are going to take your jobs. Meanwhile, you don't have a PhD in astrophysics or rocketry or whatever, right? The Chinese people coming to this country, U.S., to go to school and get PhDs, they're not taking anyone's job who's living in a single-wide mobile home in western Georgia. They're just not. That person is utterly unqualified and, to be quite frank, completely disinterested in doing the work that a Chinese PhD student would do right out of the gates. And yet, because of fear-mongering about people taking your job, even though you live in a single-wide mobile home in western Georgia, and about the only job you could actually do would be to rake leaves in people's yards, nevertheless, the Chinese students are a problem, so let's kick them all out. The South Korean engineers building the battery plant, well, they're a problem, clearly. They're South Korean, so kick them out. Now, that's what's happening now. So we can't. You think we can? I don't know where you got that idea. I don't know where anybody gets this idea that we're going to be able to innovate our way out of this. I just don't understand that. We've had 30 COPs. Conference of the Party. The last one was in, I think they just finished it up a couple of weeks ago, was in Brazil. And we've had 30 of them. Those people are supposed to be talking about how the world should handle global heating. And they're not. They're not doing it. After 30 COPs, you would think, oh, we should have at least a game plan? Something we can agree on in principle? We have nothing. Zero. Bagels. Nothing. After 30 COPs, we have nothing. There you go. That's why I have no faith that anything is ever going to happen. They're not going to save humanity. They're not going to save progress. They're not going to innovate. They're not going to solve the problem. They're not even going to talk about the problem. And anybody who talks about the problem on YouTube, like me, oh, well, you're fear-mongering, you're lying, you have an agenda, you're just, it's a hoax, and you're a traitor, and you should be hauled off to Gitmo and hauled off to the maximum security prison in El Salvador. Oh, you should be shot. You're just a bad person. What are you doing telling us all these things? None of this stuff is real. You're making it up. Okay. Fine. Fine. You don't want to hear it? Ooh, all right. Solve my problem. However, I will keep coming on here because, whatever, I'm a savage. I'm a badass. And I like stirring the pot. And maybe someday Maybe someday people will turn the corner and they'll say, wow, this problem is a problem, isn't it? Okay, let's go find some voices who have been talking about this, and maybe they'll find my videos, and maybe I'll still be alive, or probably won't be. And, maybe they'll review some of this and think, well, people had the right idea. We know what the challenges are. Humans are fucked. Humans are stupid. They're easily led. They're sheep. They're easily cowed. They're always fearful of their own shadows. We have to get brave. We have to toughen up. And, okay, so can we do that? That's what people are telling us. People are telling us it's not a hoax. They're telling us it's real. It's physics. It's phenomena. It's the Earth system. It's going to kill you. And there's like hundreds of ways that can kill you. And they're all happening already. And they're going to continue to happen. Oh, and they're going to continue to get worse as well. And it continues to get worse for hundreds of years. There's no way out. You're fucked. And you're not going to be 8,000 million people. And who gets to go first on the way down to whatever the last final number is? I keep saying 999 people out of 1,000 are going to die. Round figures. Easy to remember. That leaves 8,000 million humans, which is below the historic carrying capacity of the Earth for humans. But we've kind of fucked up the Earth. And we've paved over huge parts of the best agricultural land. We cut down the orchards and drained the swamps and paved it all over, and you're going to have to fix that. You're going to have to fix that before you can start fixing your population decline. You have to undo all that bullshit. Good luck. You won't, because you won't have fossil fuels. And all the heavy equipment it's going to take to undo all the damage we've done to the Earth is not going to work. You just won't have the equipment. And then you'll have to deal with sea level rise. And a lot of the coastal cities where people like to live, the major cities, London, Miami, Houston, right, are going to be underwater. The entire middle part of the United States of America will be underwater when the ice melts. Underwater. That's the breadbasket of the U.S. Underwater. And all those people become refugees. And all the refugees are being crowded into smaller and smaller places. And the cities and the nation states, and here in the U.S., the states, they become increasingly dense. There's more infighting. There's more intolerance. There's even more rise of fascism and totalitarianism. And it just becomes one huge battlefield. And you think that you're going to save people when the entire planet has become a battlefield? Well, I don't think so. But I don't see how that's possible. Maybe a few individuals in isolated places who have enough technology and enough skill sets and other things to kind of start over. Maybe they'll be okay-ish until the heat comes for them. They better be at 300 feet above sea level when they settle down, because the amount of sea level rise we're going to get out of all the ice melting, which could happen really before the end of the century, is 270 feet. And most people won't realize that that's a problem. They'll find ag land and they'll settle down in Central California, not knowing that that's going to be under 200 feet of water eventually. And you can't run a civilization that way. Now, you can have villages, mobile groups of people who, if things get really shitty, can up sticks and try someplace else. Okay, village life. And in my book, link in the description, I write about that. Thinking about a sequel, actually. Yeah. I won't talk about it here. It's interesting, though, what they have to do generationally, what the challenges are as things proceed apace and they find themselves increasingly pressured with increasing threats from all directions. And you say, oh, that's fear-mongering. No, that's physics. Sorry, that's how this shit actually works. 270 feet of sea level rise is not something you can just walk away from. Oh, that'll never happen. Sorry, that's math. And all the ice melts, you're going to get 270 feet of sea level rise. There you go. Oh, but science is unreliable and we don't know and the models are always wrong. Okay, well, fine. I guess I'm done. If it's all a hoax, it's all a lie, and I have an agenda, okay, fine. Okay, fine. Fine. I don't care. I really don't care. Read the book. Priced to sell. Minimum price that Amazon would allow. I don't need the money. No, I don't. But you probably need the information, or at least you need the wake-up call. And that's why you come to this channel. And that's why you listen to me rant and rage, okay? That's why I'm such a savage. That's why we do this every week. You need to know. And you may not like it. And you may not like me. But that doesn't change anything. You've got a polycrisis. Your ship is sinking. It's on fire. It's also being attacked by a squid, giant squid, and there's an alien invasion going on. You have big problems, my friend. We all have big problems. 8,000 million humans have big problems. And the only people who aren't going to have that exact set of problems will be the 8 million who are left over. They'll have the world to themselves. And whatever they have to do to survive as 8 million, they will do that. And 8 million is the number you get if you lose 999 people out of 1,000. 8 million left. Now, there will be innovators. There will be makers. There will be thinkers. There will be leaders. There will be people who can start the whole thing rolling again. Yes. Somebody like Seneca, somebody like Pythagoras. There will be someone like Thomas Edison, or even Nikola Tesla. There we go there. There will be an Einstein. And of course, we have all the books, if we bother to save them. I mean, we're all, anti-intellectuals at this point, so will they bother saving the books? No, they'll save the porn. Will they save the books? I don't know, probably not. But in any case, people will know some things. And there will be people who know how to survive. And those will be your next set of innovators. And we start this whole ramp up again for the next 8,000 years. One innovation at a time. One discovery at a time. One bright idea at a time. One solution at a time. One book at a time. One poem at a time. One song at a time. We will dig ourselves out of the collapse. Because that's how you do it. That's what I got. Yeah, I know it. It's shitty, isn't it? Isn't it terrible? And if I sound a little bitter, it's because I am. And you should be too. You have been failed. But I didn't do that. I did not fail you. I am here deliberately to not fail. I will fail. I have no followers, no subscribers. I get no likes, no views. So on another level, I am failing. But I am not failing to do what I'm supposed to do. Here I am. Saying the things that nobody is allowed to say. And I will continue until they make me stop. Which could be next year. Who knows? But until then, I'm here. While my channel still is allowed to operate on YouTube, that will be here. And you should keep coming back. Because as things really unwind, at least I can let you know that that's what's happening. Like and subscribe, buy the book, and if you feel like it, buy me a coffee. Any contributions are accepted. And at the very least, promise me this. You will survive. You will do whatever it takes to not die.